And we are live.
Hello, hello. Welcome everyone in our live Q&A session. So today is a day that you can finally ask all your questions to our experts, to our specialists of Dataroots regarding the life at Dataroots, the culture, the things we do. So yeah, I'm going to give a quick introduction. I am Silke. I'm one of the recruiters of Dataroots. Next to me, I have Virginie. Virginie, maybe you can present yourself.
Yes, so I'm Virginie. I'm a machine learning engineer at Dataroots for 4.5 years now, and I'm also now head of the research.
Yes, and Bart is giving a short introduction in the room we're sitting. Next to me, on my other side, I have Kevin. Welcome, Kevin.
Hey, so I'm Kevin Bissotte. I'm the unit lead for the Data Strategy unit, and I think that sums it up.
Okay, and Charlotte, she's sitting in front of me. Maybe you can also give a quick introduction about yourself.
Hello, hi, my name is Charlotte. I am the unit lead for the AI business unit, and I've been working at Dataroots for more than a year now.
Cool, cool. Gauthier, this is your turn. Please present yourself.
Hey, I'm Gauthier, previously data engineer at Dataroots, and today taking care of the data and cloud business unit. Can still do some technical stuff, or at least answer some.
Okay, and last but not least, one of the founders, the one and only Bart Smeets. Maybe you can also present yourself.
Oh, wow, that's a fancy introduction. So I'm Bart, co-founder of Dataroots, and today also her sound engineer for this session.
Okay, cool. So now you already know who's in the team. So what's on the planning today? First of all, Bart will give a quick introduction about what Dataroots is, what we're doing, and then we go more in depth in the different business units that we have in the company. So Kevin will give more information about the data strategy team. Charlotte will give a quick introduction into the AI and machine learning team. Gauthier will discuss the data and cloud engineering team, and Virginie will end with the Dataroots Research team. After that, I'll give a quick introduction into the culture of Dataroots, and then it's finally time for your questions. So if you have any questions, we will definitely discuss them in the end. Okay, so it's up to you, Bart. Please give us some introduction.
I'll try to do so. So if you have questions, make sure to just post them in the YouTube comments, and we'll come back to them. So very short introduction of Dataroots. Dataroots in a nutshell, like you can read up a lot on what we do on our website. Dataroots was founded by now 5 years ago, very much from the beginning with a focus on AI and data engineering. That's more or less remained the same. Like we still do a lot of both those things, but from the beginning, we really focused on building AI models, making sure we could integrate them in production systems. That also means that from the beginning, we had a very strong team of machine learning engineers and data engineers. Over time, we had customers coming to us asking like, can you help us build and design these cloud platforms for ourselves so that we can build our own data pipeline, so we can build our own models? So we also, a relatively significant part of what we do today is helping customers set up their own cloud environments for the purposes of a modern data platform. And then I think since more or less 2 years, we're getting also more and more strategic questions about how can I define my data roadmap and the challenges that come with that. And since I think November of last year, and looking at Kevin joined us to head the data strategy unit. Maybe we can go to the next slide, and I'll give like I was saying, any questions, just post them in the chat. Just a very quick overview on how we are structured. We are today, so we like I said, 5 years old. We are today with 80 people, still very actively growing. We have 3 business units: data strategy, AI, data and cloud. AI, data and cloud are more or less the same volume. Data strategy is newer, and today has how many people, Kevin?
6.
6 people. And of course, next to that, we have our business development team headed by Wouter. We have HR and our office team, which is headed by Silke. And we have Dataroots Research, which Virginie will tell a bit more about in a second. What you also see is that our our business units are headed by 2 people, an operational lead, and those are the more or less the people around the table now, but also a tech lead. So they're the leadership of the business units is both on an operational level as well as on a technological level. Let's deep dive a bit into these business units.
Sure. As Bart just explained, so the data strategy unit is fairly recent, fairly young, since November. It's a team that actually kind of focuses on helping the other teams make sure that the solutions are fit for purpose and that they get adopted by whichever business stakeholders have requested it and need to adopt a certain solution. So whether that's marketing, sales, operations, even IT, doesn't really matter. But it's really helping translate the user requirements, the business requirements into the data and technical specs. So that's a bit the purpose of the team. And so we have 3 profiles in the team currently doing that type of work. So we have the data strategists who do this at a more conceptual level, let's say. Helping together with the data scientists do use case discovery exercises to try and identify and prioritize different use cases together with the architects for data platform assessments to help define the ideal platform going forward. And then next to this second role, so we have the analytics translators. So those are more our insight generators, let's say, who take the delivered insights and make them translate them into a language that is understandable for the business stakeholders and participants, but that's more on a specific use case area. And then, of course, project management, a lot of it, this is related to communicating with business, communicating with stakeholders. So kind of project management was a logical extension of the 2 previous roles. So that's a bit the focus of what this unit works on and which profiles we have and are looking for in the team, because we are 6, but we do have ambitions to grow significantly larger this year. So that's in short.
Thank you, Kevin.
Next.
Who do we go to now, Silke?
We're going now to the one and only Charlotte, the head of the AI and machine learning units. Please give us some more insights about your unit.
Yep. Okay. So hi everyone. So within our AI business unit, of course, we tackle the classical machine learning projects with the entire life cycle. So as from data gathering, data preparation, data transformation, and feature engineering, into modeling, training, testing, validation, and then of course also model evaluation. And also focusing next to this model engineering part, we also focus on MLOps, bringing these models into production, also for model maintenance and monitoring, of course. So this really describes like the full life cycle of a machine learning project. However, next to that, there's also projects where we do only parts of that. There are projects where we also collaborate, for example, with the data strategy business unit for AI use cases discovery, for example. Also, if you want to do an assessment on the AI maturity of a company or a project, that's also something that we do. There are proof of concepts still. We also try to advocate, of course, AI best practices and maturity as well within the industry. So yeah, many topics that we cover in the business unit. Basically, the number of profiles that we have. So we talk about one profile being the machine learning engineer. However, each person can have his own expertise within a certain domain. For example, domains that we tackle nowadays are time series, but also statistics. We go also more technical into computer vision and deep learning projects. We have projects which are about anomaly detection, also on simulation and optimization. Reinforcement learning is also a domain that we are active in. So as you can see, machine learning engineers have a very broad expertise within the business unit. And so that's also something that we advocate within the business unit, within Dataroots. And same as what Kevin mentioned as well, we are, of course, always looking for new people as well in our business units.
Okay, thank you, Charlotte. Maybe next, the data and cloud unit from Gauthier.
Should we do this? Because I see there's a few questions. I don't know, maybe it's good because it's related to Charlotte.
I can maybe give a short the question. I'll put it on the screen. It's by a question by Tim. Are you also active in Industry 4.0, improving products and production processes by collecting machine data? I think the short question is yes. The longer question is the longer answer is that it's a small part of our revenue today, but a significant part. It's an important part. We are focusing on it this year specifically. It's one of the goals of our business development team. We have an active research and development participation with Flanders Make, which is very much focused on this. So I expect this part to only grow in the coming year.
Okay. Thank you so much for the answer, Bart. Maybe now back to Gauthier about...
There's one more question, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, it's an HR-related one. Perfect.
This is your time to shine, Silke.
Thank you for the question, Giovanni. For those that are not European citizens and want to work in Dataroots, the company support with some kind of process, visa or work permit. Yes, that's the case. So if we attract international talents and we do you a salary proposal and you accept, then we also start a visa application process. So we do the application for you. We work together with an external company. They take care of it. So we ask you to provide us with the right documents, and then we do the application for you. So you when it's approved, then you can come to Belgium and start working at Dataroots. So yes, we definitely help you with that. Thank you. Now it's your time to shine. Yes.
All right. So data and cloud units, I think, like in a nutshell, what we do. So basically, like all the development, like, let's say the software engineering work that goes behind putting the model in production, but like bringing the data in the right place, building the infrastructure that supports it. This is really our core focus, and we basically have two big profiles in there. Data engineers, which are really closely related to software engineers, but big focus on data, and cloud engineers, where the focus is really on building the cloud, but also making sure that security is on par, following best practices, also supporting basically data engineers and machine learning engineers on the infrastructure that they need to be able to spin up their models. That's a bit, no? Yes.
You need to speak up a bit here.
Yeah,
let that voice be heard.
Maybe I didn't put my mic right. Today we're about with 40 people, mostly data engineers, because cloud engineers is a skill that we can reuse very quickly. That is only usually there at the start of the project, and data engineers normally should be able to manage with their own infrastructure. I think that's mainly it. What do? We work on a lot of variety of projects. Financial, of course, but like all the other sectors that Dataroots is involved in usually also involves a lot of data engineering. I think that's it. I don't know if there are any questions on it. Just checking the chat.
If there are questions, please post them in the comments. We have some other questions coming up. Charlotte, I'll put them on the screen. I think this is something for you.
Yeah. Yeah, so the question is, does the AI unit or is the AI unit interested in PhD graduates? Definitely. We do have some people on board that are PhD graduates. So we think that's also very valuable experience that you have. So of course we are interested in people that have a PhD as well.
You have another question.
Oh.
I'll put the other question on the screen.
who are your potential customers? Today we can say that we are active in various sectors. We have projects in the finance sector. We also have projects in industry. We also production companies. There's also projects for government parties as well. Thinking about other sectors that we
it can be, definitely do check out our website. There are a lot of logos of our clients on our website. Maybe a little bit of history there. So when Dataroots started 5 years ago, we started mainly in the financial sector. Financial sector today is still a big part of our revenue. I think it's around 40 or 50%. But even in the financial sector, it's very diverse. Like it's banks, it's clearing houses, it's payment platforms, it's small tech startups. So also there are quite a diversity. And for over the years, like we've basically had a lot of projects in a lot of different fields, going from media to food and beverages to fast-moving consumer goods. So in that sense, there's a lot of diversity in terms of the domains that our clients are in. But always, like we are focusing on these data aspects, bringing in the knowledge around, for example, AI, data engineering, cloud strategy, and very much collaborating with our customers to understand how this can make a difference for them. And there's a follow-up to Giovanni's question about European citizens. I'll put it on the screen.
Yes. So for this question, it's a very interesting one. So if you're already in Belgium as a student or as a graduate, then there's a specific visa so that you can search for work in 1 year. If you have that visa, it's way easier for us because then you can already stay in Belgium after you graduate. And during the year that you are looking for work or already starting for work, then we do the visa application process as well. For the permits to stay and that you can keep on working in Belgium. So that's not a problem. The only remark for young grads is that if you're outside of Europe, we organize our Roots Academy twice in a year, in February, March, and in September. And we need to make sure that the work permit is approved before the start of the Roots Academy, because it can take up quite a long time. So that's why we can't hire, for example, an international candidate in August to start in September. So that is something we need to take in account for the juniors. But in general, it's easier if you already live in Europe, because then you don't need a work permit, or if you're already studying in Belgium.
Yeah, maybe just to add to that, so the whole procedure around getting a work permit as a non-European citizen, it takes a long time. It depends fully on the government. We don't have any say in it, and we see like it's a bit ebbs and flows in terms of the duration. And sometimes it's as short as 2 months, but for the more recent visa procedures that we did, it can take up to 6 months, which is quite a significant time. And something to keep in the back of your head when starting such a process.
Yes.
The next one. Try to answer it. So are we working in office or remote? I think Dataroots has always had the focus on results, even before the whole COVID epidemic. If the results are there, I think it's up to you to decide where you want to work in. Of course, some of our clients, if you work directly for a specific client, they have specific requests in terms of being close to their team a few days a week, something like this. But from, let's say, Dataroots' point of view, we basically leave this up to the person to decide. And it's also like, if you look at our office today, how many people are there today? Something like 15 or something. So it really depends on the people. We're of course post-COVID. That also means that most of our clients are also, let's say, maintaining a policy that is more or less max 2 days a week at their office. But it's a bit hard to predict how the future will be, especially for people that are working closer to, let's say, with our customers.
And we have different offices in Belgium, so you can work in the Ghent office or in the Leuven office or in your home office. So it really depends also on where you live.
A lot of questions. Who takes this one? In case of production data, do you also perform the process analysis in front? I can maybe take that one. It depends on the use case, right? The difficult thing about this is that I can't share too much detail. So relevant projects we did are, for example, in healthcare hospitals, pharma companies, but also automotive. Within hospital processes, we've definitely looked at these parameters, where this was very relevant to really understand how robust is this process. But it really depends on what the exact challenge is or what the exact problem is that you're trying to give an answer to. But yes, definitely relevant in some cases. What next on the agenda? Are we gonna
Maybe
save a few questions for last?
There are some questions as well about the Roots Academy. That is something that Virginie is going to explain in her part. So she will take care of the Dataroots Research team and also the Roots Academy. So maybe we can first let her explain this, and then we'll discuss the other questions after that.
Okay, thank you, Silke. So Dataroots Research, this is a unit really supporting all the other units, and the goal is really to be and remain a center of excellence in data and AI, monitor really state-of-the-art new technologies and new developments. And Dataroots has been always investing 10% of its revenue into innovation and research and development. And now we really have this dedicated unit to manage all the activities, which can be summarized into three main activities. There is obviously continuous training, which I'll go more in depth right after. There is all around innovative projects. And there is, of course, giving back, so community growth. Why are we doing that? Well, there are a lot of benefits from reinvesting into its own research and innovation center. Well, there is, first of all, growing the internal knowledge, of course, staying on top of the new development and innovative things, because this is a field that is evolving like so fast. We need to be prepared. We need to be proactive in that sense. And then, yeah, we also want to share and participate into the growth of the community and open source things that can be interesting. Now, since there were questions specifically about the Roots Academy, this is a program that we've developed for young graduates. So right after you finished your studies or you've done like 1 year working, the goal is really to give an overview of what are the technologies that are used at the clients, what is currently the main tools that are on the market. And this is very much hands-on. So you will get, of course, experts presenting and explaining what are the different tools and technologies, but you will also have really hands-on practice, hands-on exercises, mini project. So I think it's very complete program. We have 3 tracks at the moment. There is data engineering and cloud, where you will see everything related to data platforms, software engineering, data engineering pipelines. Then there is the AI part, where it's more focused on methodology, MLOps, this kind of crisp project management, etc. And then finally, data strategy, which will be open for the first time in September, where we will see everything related to governance, strategy, and project management. That's about the Dataroots Research, but if you have any question, I'm very happy to answer them.
Silke?
Yes. Maybe I'm first going to end the presentation with something about the culture, and after that we will discuss more of the questions. So maybe I think if something is clear after all these presentations is that we have something in common, all of us in Dataroots, and that's really the passion for data and AI. We're one team, we really need each other, everyone with his own specialization. But next to the technical part and the passion for data and AI, we also have a super connected team. So it's not only important that you match on a technical level, but also on a cultural level, because we're so connected. And we have a lot of activities that we do next to our projects to stay up to date as well. So we have, first of all, our guilds, which was also in Virginie's department. There we do some knowledge sharing. We have a lot of activities for that, a book club, a project club, sessions where we review each other's code. But we also have some fun activities. So we have our own futsal team. We have a Strava challenge twice in a year. We have a barbecue that we organize. We go on a ski trip. So all those things are really to stay connected as a team, to get to know each other very well, and that we can be center of excellence in AI as a team. So I don't know what the questions are. Maybe Bart, you can go through them and
Yeah, I'll maybe first put this question of Tim on the screen. Wait, let me quickly remove the presentation. Maybe Kevin, this is one for you.
Yeah, sure. So it's a fair point that a lot of small and medium enterprises are maybe earlier in their digital maturity. So how do we tackle that? I think that if a company in itself is not at all curious, then there's not a lot we can do. I think that everything starts when curiosity starts, and from that point onwards, there's a lot of different options that we can choose from. Whether that's kind of collaborating with the client to try and identify potential use cases that could add value, that can demonstrate the value add of AI and ML, or even just basic integration of and bringing together data that has never been connected before, and using that as an ambassador case to then generate traction for further investment in data and AI. But similarly, we can just, if they already have an idea, we can take that idea and just run with it and explore that one as well. And kind of use that also similarly as an ambassador case. So somehow it's important to educate the organization so that they become more aware of what the potential is, what the drawbacks are as well, that they become more realistic in terms of expectations. But then also, that they become convinced of the potential value add. So that's, I think, in summary, a bit how we would tackle it with a less mature SME.
There's a question from Yuri about internships. So we've had, so we recently closed actually our position for internships because we have too much applicants that we're currently sorting out. But if you are interested, make sure to send Silke at dataroots.io your information.
Yes, and also if you have a unique situation for the job or for the internship, you can always explain it in your email to or Silke at dataroots.io or recruitment at dataroots.io, and then we help you with this specific situation, me and my colleague. So that's no problem at all.
There's a question about what the Dataroots Academy is from Mr. Keduba. Is that something maybe Virginie can take?
I thought I touched upon it already, but so basically it's really about a program dedicated for young graduate students. So after you just finished your studies, and you can, we have gathered a couple of different sessions given by our experts where we really give you the opportunity to test different tools and technologies really hands-on. And we also give a lot of best practices and tips around those technologies. So I think it's really good to kickstart and have a good overview of what are the different tools that are used in the industry. So I think it's a very nice experience. You can, of course, always talk to the previous Roots Academy graduates. You can also see what type of project they've realized on our GitHub. We have open sourced a couple of those projects, so I think it's a very cool experience as well.
So yeah, it's really to kickstart your career and then become a specialist in the team. That's the purpose of the Roots Academy. You will be guided by experts, and then so that you are more confident to work afterwards on a project at a client yourself. That's really the purpose of our Roots Academy, so that you can grow with us on the long term afterwards. Okay, I don't know if there are more questions, then please don't hesitate to ask them now. You have all the experts here that can give you a direct answer to them.
Silke, what question would you ask?
Oh, but there's a new question popping up. Thanks, Tim.
Question is knowledge of Python and Linux sufficient for Dataroots? It depends a bit on the role that you want to have within Dataroots, of course. It's the bare minimum to know, of course, if you want to be a machine learning engineer. I think if you want to be a data engineer, you need to have some knowledge of other tools as well. Gauthier, correct me if I'm wrong. But
I think it depends a bit on which position you try to enter.
Voilà.
I mean, if you talk about the academy, I think like basic tooling is important, but motivation and then like how you feel and like how you behave and how quickly are you able to pick up new things is much more important. And then for experienced people, of course, there's a variety of tools that can use standard.
You need to speak up, I think, or get your mic a little bit closer to you.
Hope that was cleared up. If not, I can let me know in the chat.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Is this the real Bart from the sticker? I think to give some context, we just went on a ski trip together with all of us, and some of our amazing team members had the great idea to develop some stickers. Bart, this is approved by Bart.
No shot.
And we put them on everything to show that it's approved by the one and only Bart Smeet, co-founder of Dataroots.
It's very awkward. Let us try to imagine that the last 2 minutes didn't happen.
But yeah, it gave me some time to think about a question that I would ask if I were you. So what's the difference? What makes Dataroots then so unique compared to other companies? So the thing is, in Dataroots, we really find it important that we are one team and that it's not only on the technical part, but also on a personal part. So we really try to keep our people on the long term. And how do we do that? We really try to invest in them as well with the knowledge sharing initiatives to stay up to date, that everyone is educated. We have learning paths that we develop for our employees. We invest in them. We give them the opportunity to get relevant certificates, trainings. Everyone has his own coach inside the company, which is quite unique. That person is really following up on the employees, asking how they're feeling on the project, what their ambitions are, their goals. They sit together, what they want to achieve, and how Dataroots can support them in their journey. So that is something that we really try to invest in you on the long term so that we can grow as a team. Ah, perfect, Mr. Keduba. Perfect. I was asking when the application for the Roots Academy opened. So it's already open actually at the moment. So our last Roots Academy started in March. They are now in their second month, but we're already recruiting for the Academy of September. It will start on Monday, the 5th of September. So yeah, we're screening people for machine learning, data engineering, cloud engineering, junior data strategist. You can just find them on our website on the career page. And then we'll be happy to pick up your application.
Question from Dimitri. Maybe for Charlotte.
Yeah, I think we need to split that one, Charlotte, but go for it.
Yeah. So tools, frameworks for machine learning. So tools or languages, definitely Python, but it also depends very much on the domains that we work in or that we have a project in. For example, deep learning or computer vision, often with TensorFlow or Keras. So it depends on the type of models that you create. There's also, of course, the biggest cloud vendors that we have partnerships with. So, of course, also tools and services from Microsoft Azure, AWS, and Google Cloud as well that we use in our projects. So, yeah, that's for machine learning.
Take the data engineering part. I think first what's extremely important is really strong software engineering skills, and then like we have really some specific technologies that we use. So I mean, today Python is standard, but we still have some Scala lying around. We sometimes do a bit of Java, depends a bit on the client. We try to be as close to the client stack as possible, not to create technical debt. Then, like as mentioned, like for the cloud, we use Terraform to provide stuff if we can, but it's not always a fit as well. Like we might use some other tools that does the same job. That's basically it in terms of processing pipelines. I think what we've seen a lot is a move towards Spark, which for us mainly means Python today. But there is clearly a move of the community towards less code or less intensive code and focus really on business requirements. So there's a lot, like a bigger need for SQL and let's say SQL storage, like tools like dbt, for example, where we see a lot of traction from the community, but also like it's a very nice tool to be able to let business users do advanced things without requiring a full-time engineer. So I think moving forward, this is also the direction that we want to take. Because at the end of the day, what we try to do is really deliver data in a manner that it can be consumed. So it doesn't need to be difficult. Shouldn't be difficult, I think. Hope that answers the question.
Maybe I can just add to that as more of a generic answer, or a more high-level answer. Let's put it like that. So from the start of Dataroots, we have consciously decided not to go for one single vendor or cloud provider, for example, and we tried to be able to advise our clients in the best tool for the job that they have at hand, which is always a difficult question. Like, what is the best tool? Like, it is something that we as a company have experience in, of course, that we know that we can advise on. It is something that is able to be maintainable for the coming years. It is something that it does not hugely impact their current stack. That is an important one. But today we are somewhat agnostic in from for example, cloud providers, in the sense that we are partner of all three major cloud providers, and that also allows us to test different aspects. There's a story that has pros and cons. Like, if you are agnostic, it's harder to build up a certain expertise. But I think we've shown that over the last years, we were able, like, we're in terms of volume, we are large enough to have different expertise in different areas. So that means today, like it's also on our website, we are official partners of Google, of Azure, Microsoft, of AWS, of Snowflake, and of dbt, for example. And this is because we believe in them, but we don't necessarily solely work with them. And I think that is always a very important stance that we've taken, to be able to advise our customers in a, let's say...
Yeah, I think we want to show the knowledge. Like, this is why we're partners, but we have no financial incentives.
Exactly, yeah. We want to remain as much as we can unbiased in giving advice. A question for Charlotte. The typical day
of a machine learning engineer.
At what time do you get up?
Well, this morning at 6. So no, a typical day of a machine learning engineer, of course, again, depends on the type of project that you are on. I would say a lot of people start the day with, if they're on a project with a client, start with a daily stand-up to give a bit of an update on what they're doing that day, what have they done the day before, are there any blocking points? We see that at clients, this is often something that is implemented in the project lifecycle. And then next, depends on what you're working on. Could be that you are discussing, for example, with the people from IT to gather data or to get data from a data pipeline. Could be that you are working or writing code to do feature engineering for your model. So it depends on which project specifically. I would say typically in a day for a machine learning engineer, there might be a few meetings. A machine learning engineer needs to be able to communicate with IT to express exactly what is needed, for example, for the project. Needs to be able to also communicate with the business, because in the end, they are creating a solution that will benefit someone or an end user that is requesting the project or requesting the outcome of a project. So typically there's also some meetings with IT, with business people involved as well throughout the day.
And maybe to add to that, I get this question quite often, what a specific day looks like, a typical day. So you can also check out our Instagram, that's live at Dataroots, and there you see some examples. We ask some machine learning engineers, some data engineers to film a day in their life so that you really get the feeling about what working at Dataroots is like, what the atmosphere in the office is like. So definitely check that out as well.
I'll take the next question. As many customers are hesitant with AI, does Dataroots actively invest in customers adapting and trusting AI applications? And if so, how? There are a few points to that. So one, I think from the moment that we started, we've refrained a bit from having to evangelize too much. There's a lot of demand for our services, and we tend to focus on customers that are already convinced that let's say AI, but let's say data products in general can have a benefit for them. That is one thing. Linking to that is, of course, the trust aspect, which is super important to us. We are heavily involved also via Dataroots Research in R&D around explainable AI, which it is from an ethical point of view an important question. We also, from a compliance point of view, especially for example in the finance sector, where it's very important, like if there is a prediction, for example, about creditworthiness of a customer, that you can understand and make transparent how a prediction came to be. So from this point of view, we are very much helping our customers understand the impact that AI can have, but also how they can better understand the internals of, for example, a model. From a commercial point of view, we try to refrain a bit from customers that still have to be convinced of the value of data and AI. Another question from Lawrence. I'll leave this to Charlotte.
How scientific experimental is the median machine learning project at Dataroots? We do have some projects which are pretty experimental. Projects that we do at the client, it can be that we say we use already techniques that have been around for a while, but there's also projects, of course, and where we use new techniques. If we see something new coming up, for example, within the AI world, we will try to do an initiative within Dataroots Research around it, or see if we can do an internship around some newer experimental topics. I don't know if there's anything to add to that, Virginie.
No, so this is really the goal, is to gather all innovative projects under the same umbrella. And once we have gathered enough knowledge around them, then they go to the business unit. We create learning resources for people to get better at those new technologies. We create a knowledge sharing session. So it's really, I think, a journey towards new technologies, which we are taking since the beginning.
I can maybe add a little bit to that. Like, I think it's a bit of a difficult balance. Like, it's if when we work on models for customers, I think it's important to realize that the most fun or most experimental thing to work with in terms of frameworks, in terms of models that just came out, may not necessarily be the best return on investment for our customer. So I think it's always very important to be pragmatic there. Like, if you know something works, let's use that. We also see, like, we are, like, versus 5 years ago, there are a lot of models that have proven that it is feasible, given the if you know the context sufficiently, so that you can make a good estimation. But at the same time, it's also very important to keep exploring this experimental and scientific field, because we very much want to remain state of the art, to be up to speed on all the evolutions in these different domains. And that is also the reason why Virginie today is heading Dataroots Research, and that Dataroots Research has a significant budget and is really a business unit within Dataroots Research, because they have the budget to explore these things from a more R&D point of view, and to start partnerships with R&D organizations or through research organizations. So it is it's not always When we work on customer projects, like it's very important to be pragmatic, and sometimes something you've already done twice is very, very relevant to do a third time. But at the same time, you want to remain up to date, and for that you need to experiment and learn. This links a bit to it, I guess.
Yeah, but here as well, I would say both, and I would also say depending on the situation or the type of project. Of course, we do build machine learning models from scratch. Sometimes you can solve a project, or you can solve a business question with more simpler models. And on the other hand, there's also, for example, computer vision, deep learning models, which a lot of them are already available that are pre-trained, and then you have to change part of the model, or you have to retrain yourself parts of the model, but where you don't start from scratch. So again, both of them are applied. Both can be applicable. Depends on the situation that you're in, and depends on what type of question that you want to solve with the model.
Any other questions left at this moment? Is Dutch, no, for the really technically hands-on jobs where you're like data and cloud engineering, the machine learning, their English is enough. For the data strategy team, because they're also related to the business part, there it's necessary at this moment to speak both English and Dutch or French. Because of the customers we have today. So there it's important that you speak 2 of the languages that are spoken in Belgium. But for the technical jobs in data, cloud and machine learning, then English is enough. If you have questions left, this is your moment. Now we're all together here.
Last one, Charlotte, which question would you ask?
Oh boy, haven't I answered already a lot?
You've answered a lot, but which one would you ask? The one question that was always on your mind before joining Dataroots.
Oh, that's you put me on the spot here.
Not at all. Not at all. Wait. I can maybe actually. You're on the spot. No, nothing.
No, nothing comes up actually.
Gauthier?
No, I think why is data engineering so cool?
Oh boy, we should have known.
Okay, nice one.
Wasn't that the question? No, but I think like today there is a big spot on the AI and machine learning, but like the only thing I want to say is like it might sometimes look a bit less sexy on the surface. But what we try to do at Dataroots is really build sturdy solutions, and that takes a lot of engineering, a lot of thinking work. It's not coding monkey work, so it's like very challenging and very nice because we didn't have a lot of questions on data engineering, so I feel obligated to.
Cool. Thanks to Tim, we now also have a question for Charlotte. Charlotte, can data save the world?
Oh, can data save the world? People can save the world. Can data save the world? I don't think necessarily just data can save the world, but it can help people take better decisions. So in that case, it can help steer people better, and then they can take better decisions, and people can therefore save the world.
Maybe an important for the other questions in the chat box. I don't know if I already explained the recruitment process, but it's normally 4 steps. So the first one, we do a CV screening with maybe an introduction call, depends if you have questions or we have questions. Then for the machine learning, data and cloud engineering, there's a short codility test. That is just to check if the basic coding skills are there. It takes max 30 minutes. You have 7 days to do it, so you can do it whenever it suits you the best. After that, there's one HR interview with me or my new colleague, Luna. If that's also positive, then there's a technical interview with 2 experienced colleagues at this moment. But we're currently also reviewing the recruitment process, so that can change. But in general, it's those 4 steps. So intro call or CV screening, codility test, HR interview, technical interview. Is it true that Gauthier can put both ankles behind his head?
Let's tackle that one first.
You want me to, it's something I would say apply, cover the truths, and we'll talk about it.
Let us say that the rumor definitely exists. Huh? The rumor
The rumor
exists.
does exist.
There's a question from Maria that is explicitly not for me.
Maybe Kevin. Kevin hasn't answered that much.
No, not true. Why Dataroots? I think my context was maybe a bit different, but I was definitely looking for a change. I come from a very big corporate, and I was very much looking for a bit more the entrepreneurial spirit, and I definitely found that part. I think that's an important part of the identity of Dataroots. Plus, of course, I think something I've learned since, and I appreciate very much, is the focus on people and the just overall atmosphere of collaboration and support each other, which is more present here than anywhere else that I've seen so far, and I've seen quite a lot of organizations. So I'd say definitely those two are key factors.
Question from Dimitri. How would some of you describe the vibe of Dataroots? Silke?
Oh, but I think I'm maybe a bit biased there.
Everybody around the table.
I'm working in HR, but the vibe at Dataroots. So it's like really, it sounds really, really classic, but work hard, play hard. Everyone is super focused, and we really want to be state of the art in the domain that we're experts in, data and AI. So everyone is super focused on that and really investing in knowledge sharing and the projects we're doing at the clients. But at the same time, we also have a very young team. So that's why we also do a lot of activities after work as well. We go for drinks, we go for pooling. This weekend, we're playing ice hockey with some of the team. So it's really like, sometimes I feel more like a group of friends doing professional things as well, because that is definitely the case. But yeah, I really love my colleagues. Maybe I'm a bit biased.
But we are, I think, around the table all very biased. But I think if you are interested to hear what the vibe is and you want the less biased view, just connect with someone of our team on LinkedIn and send them a question. I think that is the easiest way to get a less biased view than the people around this table. Question from Hamid. Is everybody working alone on a client project, or are there team projects as well? Depends a bit on our how we collaborate, how we engage with our customers. I think fully alone is the exception. I think that is today 1 or 2 persons that are fully alone at a customer. What does happen frequently, especially within the machine learning guild, is that you are working on separate projects but at the same customer. So that your team is still close, but you are working on you each have your own scope to work on. Next to that, but it's less frequent. We have teams that are fully managed within Dataroots, that are really working on projects that we manage and build in-house and then hand over to customers. But it really depends a bit on the specific type of customer, the way we collaborate. For some customers, we have a relationship that's standing for since years. With some customers, we first start with, for example, proof of concept to see like what they want to build. Is it feasible? And from there on, develop this relationship. So it depends a bit on the context. Gauthier, you want to say something?
Yeah, I think like it's also related to our size. Like today, we do have a size where we can actually support projects where we can put like, let's say 5 or more people on a project at a given time. But like that was not the case previously. Like this, basically, like if you look at 50 people, like this means that 10% of everybody needs to be available at the same time. So it's also something that we see growing. Like there is a bigger demand for bigger projects because we can tackle them today, but we didn't used to before.
Kevin, this is maybe a question for you.
Yeah, sure. Well, competition in the industry for sure. I think it's and it continues to increase. Also ex-colleagues of mine who recently started their own scale-up by a startup at this stage still in this field. Also more focused on the customer side of things. But so yes, and there are companies being launched very regularly. Not all of them, of course, scale to the size that Dataroots has managed to scale to in 5 years. But yeah, and it definitely is a competitive field. Also with a lot of larger organizations also involved in this specific area, from the bigger consulting firms to a lot of niche players. So yeah, definitely intensifying.
I think there are two questions related to the basic coding skills and technical interview.
Yes, there's a question from Wout. What are considered basic coding skills for the application process? Gauthier?
Well, I'm going to talk. I think everybody passes kind of the same test on codability. So, I mean, what we expect there is a minimum, like that you're, let's say, a bit proficient in the language, that you can express yourself in the programming language, and that you can solve very quite basic algorithmic questions. But like, we don't want to have to teach you everything. Like, we don't mind bridging the gap between what you learned on the like theoretical level and, let's say, the industry during the academy, but like, there needs to be some basics there. It's a bit hard to say because some people are really good in other languages that we don't use, and I think that on our side that's fine because everybody can learn.
And don't worry, there's a demo in the codability test, so you can first check the demo and then do the real test.
So we codability, we send a small, basically it's a small 30-ish minute test that we send automated graduating so that we can quickly check those.
I'll put the next question on. Kevin, maybe something for you. Do you have a business development training for your engineers so that they also have a way to see things from that point of view and not only the technical parts?
Yeah, sure. So this year in the academy, we invested some extra time in adding also more functional business-related topics into the data science and data engineering training curriculums in the Dataroots Academy. Related to strategy, governance, but also just basic kind of interviewing skills, but with industry knowledge, which is maybe not per se business development, but it helps. It's an embryo, it's a basis from where you can grow your business development skills. If you have an affinity for it, I think it is more than welcome and appreciated as you grow within the organization, to always keep your eyes open for potential opportunities, and some people have a bigger affinity with that, which means that they do that more often and become more skilled at it. I think that's also one of the strengths of this organization, and what makes you potentially very good at what you do at Dataroots is you have your technical skills, and then there's a whole lot of other skills that you can develop on top of that. Business development, commercial being one of them. Coaching, I think, is another one that was already mentioned. That there's a lot of different directions you can take your career from here. So, in short.
Another question from Jakub. Maybe this is about how steep do we think the learning curve is for junior machine learning engineers in the beginning? Maybe that's a good question for Virginie. She's also organizing the academy.
Yes, so it depends a bit on the background that you have at the beginning. What we see at universities is that it's master in AIs, for example, they are very focused on the algorithm and how to learn those tools, which is obviously a great part of the machine learning engineer job. But at Dataroots, we also expect the deployment of those models so that you can do these type of things. And that's why the academy that we provide is a lot mixed between data engineers and machine learning engineer. So there is definitely a lot of things to learn, but I think the format and how we provide those hands-on exercises as a team as well, it's a very nice way to learn, according to me, because you are also supported by the team and by the other people at the same level as you. So I think that makes it much easier than if you were to learn it on your own alone.
Maybe the last question for today, because we are almost 1 hour busy. I would say Bart can pick the last question. If you have then any questions left afterwards, you can also send them to recruitment@dataroots.io. Then we can bring you in contact with the right persons, or we answer them ourselves. Last question is for
me.
Yes.
So Tim asks, in the context of Industry 4.0, do you mostly stop at the level of production prediction, or do you continue to support until digital transformation? Good question. Like many things, it depends. To give you a bit of a concrete view on some of the projects we did makes it a little bit more concrete on what we do in this field. So we've been involved heavily in the optimization of patient flows through a hospital. We've done a lot of efforts in warehouse optimization. We've done a lot of effort on stock demand. We are also very much involved in making these things actionable. Because a model just that gives you a number can't help you to do anything. Like, you need to make sure, like, if you say, okay, there's not going to be demand at that shop, so we probably don't need this warehouse. Like, you need to make sure that these predictions are ingrained in your process to actually profit from these insights. So in that sense, we try to go all the way. I think there we are as an organization also evolving, where we at the start of Dataroots very much focused on building these models and algorithms, and now also very much tackle this change aspect, and how do we make sure that it also lands within the business processes of this organization, something that Kevin is also very much experienced in. I hope that gives at least a partial answer to him.
Okay, perfect. So like I just said, if you have any questions left now at this moment, then please don't hesitate to send us an email to recruitment@dataroots.io. For now, I want to thank all of you to participate in this meetup. I hope you got a clear view on what working at Dataroots is like, who our experts are, the business unit leads. If you want to know more, then definitely don't hesitate to connect with us. Okay, thank you so much. Have a very nice day and see you next time.
Last question, Silke. How can people connect with us?
Through recruitment@dataroots.io or via LinkedIn.
Okay. You can also send us an email. It's very easy. Just our first name @dataroots.io.
Also possible.
Hope to talk to you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.